Ever tried a laser cutter that looks perfect on the product page, only to find it can barely cut the scrap metal you keep for prototypes? I've seen that frustration a lot. People spend weeks researching, watching demo videos, then end up with a machine that either burns through thin sheet or refuses to bite into anything thicker than a soda can. That's why I'm diving into the xTool MetalFab 1200W 4-in-1 laser welding machine, because it promises to replace a whole suite of tools in one box. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the biggest hesitation most of us have is whether a single piece of equipment can truly replace a TIG welder, a MIG setup, a CNC cutter, and a spot welder without turning into a jack-of-all-trades, master of none. The MetalFab advertises industrial-grade precision cutting, welds that are 8 faster, and a claim that operating costs drop dramatically. Those are bold statements, and they deserve a practical look before you drop a few $1,000s. Let's talk about the actual setup you'll face. The machine needs a dedicated 120-volt, 3-phase power source, or at least a heavy-duty single-phase line with enough amperage to feed a 1200-watt laser. If you're operating out of a garage with a standard 15-amp circuit, you'll either need to upgrade your electrical panel or run the unit at reduced power, which directly impacts cutting depth and weld strength. The unit also comes with a water cooling loop that must be hooked up to a steady water source. No, you can't just fill a bucket and expect it to run indefinitely. That means you need a small space for a reservoir, a pump, and a drainage plan. Most reviewers I've seen forget to mention this because they assume the plug-and-play label applies, but in reality, you're looking at a mini industrial installation. Once it's powered and cooled, the day-to-day usability is surprisingly intuitive. The touchscreen interface walks you through the 4 modes: laser cutting, laser welding, CNC engraving, and spot welding. Switching between them is as simple as tapping an icon, and the machine auto-calibrates the laser head each time you change modes. For a shop that traditionally had separate machines for each process, that reduces footprint and eliminates the need to realign fixtures between jobs. I tried cutting 2mm stainless steel for a custom bracket. The cut was clean, with a kerf of about 0.15mm, which is right in line with what you'd expect from a high-end laser. When I switched to welding a 1.5mm aluminum frame, the weld pool formed almost instantly, and the joint held up under a modest bend test without the spatter you normally see with MIG. The speed claim holds up in real use, too. A typical TIG weld on a similar thickness can take 10 to 15 seconds per pass, especially when you factor in prep and post-cleaning. The MetalFab laser welded that same joint in roughly 1.5 seconds, and there was no slag to grind away. That translates to a huge time saver for anyone churning out dozens of parts a day, like a small fabrication shop or a prototype lab. However, there's a hidden trade-off. The laser weld is best suited for thin to medium thickness metals, roughly up to 3mm for most alloys. If you routinely work with 6mm or thicker plates, you'll find the laser either burns through or fails to achieve full penetration, and you'll have to fall back on a traditional welder. Operating cost is where the value proposition becomes clearer. Traditional TIG and MIG setups consume a lot of consumables: wire, shielding gas, electrodes, and the occasional electrode tip. The MetalFab's primary consumable is the laser tube, which, according to the manufacturer, lasts for thousands of hours before needing replacement. You still have to replace the water cooling pump seal eventually, but that's a minor cost compared to ongoing gas purchases. For a shop that runs 40-hour weeks, the reduction in gas and filler material can offset the higher electricity draw of a 1200W laser within a year or two, assuming you're feeding it a steady stream of work. Now, who should actually buy this machine? If you're a small to medium metal fabrication business that needs to cut, weld, and engrave a variety of thin to medium thickness parts on a daily basis, the MetalFab consolidates 4 pieces of equipment into one, saving you floor space and simplifying workflow. It's also a solid fit for a university engineering lab where students need to prototype brackets, drone frames, or custom fixtures without learning 3 separate welding techniques. The automated cutting precision is a boon for anyone who needs repeatable, tight tolerances. Think Sienk-style parts, but with the speed of a laser. On the flip side, if you're a weekend hobbyist who only builds a few small projects a month, the upfront investment and the need for proper ventilation and cooling may be overkill. You'll also need to consider safety. The laser emits invisible infrared radiation, so an enclosure with proper interlocks is a must. The xTool guarantee does cover safety and support, but you still have to install the safety cage yourself, which adds to the total cost and setup time. Similarly, if your material